Random Battle is a Pokemon format where your team is completely random. Rather than building your own team, you need to work with whatever you're given. And sometimes this means attempting to make the most out of otherwise horrible Pokemon that you would never use in other formats. Random Battle is the most popular and accessible competitive Pokemon format, and a fantastic place to start for beginners. The Pokemon in Random Battles have curated movesets with a few options that can vary, so even a terrible Pokemon will still be as functional as it can be. Random Battles allow you to jump right into the heart of Pokemon battling without needing to build a team of your own or cultivate a deep understanding of the metagame to jump in. You can learn the basic mechanics and fundamentals of Pokemon very well through Random Battles. But just because this is a beginner-friendly format doesn't mean it's easy. Despite the inherent randomness of the format, some players have really high win rates and are very skilled at making the most out of their random team, adapting to variables and just playing good Pokemon. And sometimes the Pokemon that end up at the top of the win rate charts in Random Battles are pretty bizarre looking. Pokemon that are straight up terrible everywhere else can be amazing in this format, full of variance where different things are important. Let's take a look at some of the weirdest Pokemon to achieve unexpectedly high win rates in Random Battles. Subscribe to the channel to ensure that Macargo is able to pay off the trillions in debt that he owes to Furret. Thank you. When I took a look at the Gen 9 Random Battle win rate stats for this month, I was surprised to see Vileplume near the very top, as one of the most consistently high-performing Pokemon in Random Battles. You'd think that getting Vileplume on your team would be a disadvantage, but actually, getting Vileplume on your team is lucky. This is a sought-after Pokemon that is a blessing to be randomly given on your team. But what does it do in Random Battles, and why is it so much better here than it is elsewhere? One of the most interesting parts of Random Battles is its level scaling. Usually in competitive Pokemon, everything is just level 100, because that's the highest level you can get. But in Random Battles, this is not the case. Powerful Pokemon like legendaries or OU ranked Pokemon are given lower levels in Random Battles to help balance them out, and underpowered or lower tiered Pokemon, such as Vileplume for example, are given higher levels. Vileplume in Random Battles is level 86, while Landorus Therian is level 76, 10 levels lower. As a result, their stats are pretty comparable actually. This is a good choice for balancing reasons, because in a format like this you don't want to get completely screwed if you don't get any top tier Pokemon. But even factoring in the level scaling, Vileplume being so good is a little strange still. This is a pretty unremarkable Pokemon, often outclassed by other utility grass types. So what does it offer in Random Battles? Vileplume has a pretty good move pool actually, and its Random Battle sets take advantage of that. It has access to Giga Drain and Sludge Bomb for some straightforward stab options, which are always nice to have, especially because both of these have good secondary effects. Giga Drain can heal you, and Sludge Bomb can apply poison. And Vileplume has some fantastic utility moves that offer great consistency. Status moves are always good to have in Random Battles, as they will just directly hinder the enemy in a straightforward way and can usually threaten many different kinds of Pokemon. Vileplume has access to Sleep Powder, which is excellent. Just directly applying sleep and giving you a lot of momentum, denying the enemy from acting. Vileplume also has the move Strength Sap, which is a fantastic move that very few Pokemon actually get. Strength Sap will heal your Pokemon based on the enemy's attack stat. So if they have a really high attack, you heal more. Sometimes you can even heal up to full against specific enemies. On top of this, you also lower their attack by 1 stage. This is absolutely tremendous, providing Vileplume with consistent healing and a form of counterplay against physical Pokemon. Vileplume even gets the ever-valuable Leech Seed, a very consistent and safe way to make progress, and in a format with variants like Random Battle, consistency is always appreciated. A Grass Poison defensive typing has its advantages too. Vileplume itself is immune to the effects of powder moves thanks to its grass typing. It is immune to Leech Seed, and it is immune to being poisoned, either by direct effects like Toxic or the secondary effects of moves like Sludge Bomb. In Random Battles, Vileplume can have 2 different Terra types, Water and Steel, both of which are great defensive typings that are not a bad way to spend your 1 per game Terra, creating a really strong defensive wall that can sometimes be impossible to break. Fairy type Pokemon tend to be good, and Terra Fairy is one of the more common types to terrestrialize into, so Poison typing is appreciated in that sense as well. You resist Fairy and threaten them with Sludge Bomb. And Vileplume also has the benefit of being able to remove enemy toxic spikes from the field on switch in. Hazard removal can be scarce in random battles, and sometimes, because it's random, you don't get any at all and can be really overwhelmed by hazards. So having an easy form of counterplay against an entry hazard that could really eat you alive and just destroy your entire team is also very useful. Vileplume is honestly a perfect defensive utility Pokemon in random battles, and when you consider all this, the high win rate of Vileplume makes a lot of sense. This Pokemon is going to stop enemies in their tracks, halt their momentum, and defend you against a lot of these scary threats that you need to answer. You wouldn't think to celebrate if you see a Vileplume on your random team, but you should, because Vileplume is going to seriously help you out. Another very successful Pokemon in random battles this month that usually isn't very good was Delphox. Delphox has an unfortunate fire psychic typing with a lot of downsides. Rock weakness is never good in competitive singles, and psychic typing is also rough, since dark and ghost weakness are very relevant. You can make up for this typing if you have enough strengths elsewhere. We've seen that with Pokemon like Victini, but Delphox doesn't really do that. Its stats are underwhelming, its abilities are mostly useless, and it just doesn't offer very much. But in random battles, this is one of the scariest threats you can see, actually. Delphox is scaled to level 84 in random battles, giving it a very solid stat distribution across the board, and it has a vast array of possible options. Delphox gets Fire Blast and Psyshock for stab damage, and it gets good coverage options including Focus Blast and Grass Knot. It can also get access to Nasty Plot on some sets as a boosting option. Delphox can have 3 different items in random battles: Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, and Heavy Duty Boots. This variety in possible items makes Delphox unpredictable, and skilled players can even use this to bluff. Since Choice Scarf is possible, your opponent has to respect the chance of being outsped and switch out in some instances, whether you have a Choice Scarf or not. All of these possible items are good and have their uses, and Delphox also has a serious variety in its possible Terra types. Delphox can have a Fighting, Fire, Grass, or Psychic Terra type, which makes it even harder to predict. All of these Terra types provide resistances to different incoming hits, and this could potentially spell disaster if you allow Delphox an opportunity to Nasty Plot and Sweep. All of these different Terra types also provide bonus damage to multiple possible attacks, making it hard to predict how much damage you could take from a Delphox hit. In the world of random battles, this solid selection of offensive options and variety in movesets allowing you to bluff and be unpredictable is a recipe for success, and Delphox has an impressive win rate in random battles as a result. The Pokemon with the #1 win rate in random battles this month is Registeel. Registeel is one of the more underwhelming legendary Pokemon in the series, despite great defensive stats. There are a lot of utility steel types that outclass it, but it makes sense that it would actually thrive in random battles where teams cannot be constructed around synergies and game plans, and Pokemon being more inherently strong and consistent is more important. A simple mono steel typing has great defensive benefit, obviously. Your fantastic defensive stats in both areas and a generous level scaling of level 82, Registeel is one of the most consistently good defensive Pokemon you can get in random battles. It also helps that Registeel has access to a set that can act as a potential win condition. Registeel has access to Body Press in the modern games, and sometimes you get Body Press paired with Iron Defense. Body Press deals damage based on your defense, so Registeel can obviously boost up and sweep teams with its defense stat. The other options that Registeel can get are all pretty excellent, including Stealth Rock, a valuable entry hazard, and Thunder Wave to cripple enemies with a status ailment. You can also get the Rest and Chesto Berry combo for a one-time full heal, which is really useful. Even Stab Iron Head is nice, not only for the flinch chance, which comes up occasionally, but coverage to hit fairy types is always good, as fairy is a top-tier type. I think that Registeel having the #1 win rate makes perfect sense. Whenever you see a Registeel on your random team, you're always happy. It's going to have something useful to improve consistency, or even be a win condition to set up for and plan your strategy around. Gen 9 random battles is also an interesting format because every month sets are tweaked based on their win rate. So all of these Pokemon with high win rate will be looked at and adjusted, kind of like a balance patch. I think this is a great way to keep things fresh and prevent any specific Pokemon or strategies becoming too dominant. Maintaining the spirit of random battles, a format where you're supposed to work with what you're given and focus on playing fundamental good Pokemon. This is always a fun format to queue up when you don't know what to play. And it is always fun to have an excuse to use lesser seen and underrepresented Pokemon that much of the time exceed your expectations.